Welcome into the DRF Sportsbook Betting Breakdown. We are breaking down all things divisional round NFL playoffs this week. We had Gino on last week breaking down all things wild card, and now we're moving on to the divisional rounds where I think there is some money to be made, and we're bringing on Eric from @eToft21 Sports. You can find him on Twitter. You can find him on YouTube, wherever you are. Eric, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Doing good. This is the best week in football, in my opinion, and
Really?
look forward to talking some football with you.
Yeah, how'd your wild card weekend go?
Wild card weekend, was good. I fortunately lost the Chargers, and that was a little brutal. But other than that, it was good. I had the Dolphins first half, the Seahawks first half, and then I had the Ravens first half game, and I had the Ravens money line. Almost hit a home run with that. That one was that one still stings, but overall, good, made some money, and looking forward to this week.
Yeah, so we have 4 games on the docket, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, AFC, NFC on Saturday, AFC, NFC on Sunday as well. Jaguars-Chiefs break things down, or I guess not break things down. They start things off. And which game are you keyed in on the most, that you are the most confident in, that you have the best feel heading into divisional weekend?
I'd probably say this game. When I kind of dove in, I kind of looked at the trends. I kind of see something going my way, and I think you and I are going to be on opposite sides in this game. I just kind of was looking at the one seeds trends in the playoffs. Seeds at home in the playoffs are 43% ATS the last 20 years. One seeds the divisional round of the playoffs, 34% ATS. One seeds divisional round laying 7 points or more, which the Chiefs are, 38% ATS. Mahomes 7-point favorite or more, 48% ATS. And my boy Dougie, a robust 6-1 ATS in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of trends favoring that there. And one of the big things, I don't really trust this Chiefs defense. I'm just when I'm looking at it here, they are 31st defending per DVOA, defending wide receiver ones. Evan Ingram has finally had the career everyone thought he was going to have when he was drafted out of Ole Miss. And the Chiefs are defending the tight end, the receiving game, are number 19 per DVOA, and they're number 28 per DVOA defending the running back in the passing game. I think Lawrence is going to be able to throw the ball, and I don't think the Chiefs pass rush is as elite as the Chargers pass rush is, when you factor in they have Joseph Day in the inside, and they have Mack and Bosa on both outsides. I think that Lawrence is going to have more success because throwing against the ball, as he did in the second half for the whole game against this Chiefs defense. And call me crazy, I think Allen and Walker are going to be able to get home into Mahomes.
Okay.
The running game for the Chiefs, the Andy Reid offense is all about the running game. I know that kind of sets everything up. And Pacheco, I don't know if he doesn't trust him, but he hasn't been getting that run.
Yeah.
Jared McKinnon's been more of that receiving down back. The one issue is the slot corner for the Jags. Trey Hendren is 101 in PFF.
Yikes.
Smith-Schuster should be able to eat. I was looking at Smith-Schuster props, but it was a little too high. They're in the mid-50s. That's a little too high for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if they're in the 40s, I'd look to get it. One player prop I did like was Travis Etienne. I was able to get this right off of openers at 10.5. This has ballooned all the way up to 17.5, and I still like it at anything under 20.
Receiving yards at 10.5?
Yep, it opened up at 10.5 on one shot.
That's one catch for ETN.
That is one catch. He's gone over 17.5 yards 3 of his last 5 games. The last game against the Chiefs, He got 28 yards receiving. And then also, when you just look at all the teams in the NFL, the Chiefs gave up the fourth most yards total to the running backs in the receiving game. So I think Etienne's going to have a big part. And then if you just kind of look at it, historically speaking, unders do hit in the playoffs at Arrowhead.
Yeah.
If this is going to be a low scoring game, you got to play the side with the dog in my eyes. I kind of like the Jags here. I think Lawrence is kind of going to calm down a little bit. And I don't know, like when I've been watching Mahomes these last couple of weeks, he just doesn't look as crisp. His passes seem to be flowing a little bit. I don't know if this is just kind of what the Chiefs are doing when they're just kind of cruising to get into the playoffs or not. But the trends tell me to bet the Jags.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm doing it. I'm sipping the Kool-Aid. I'm taking the Jags.
I dig it.
+1.5.
I mean, what you said there did just lead me a little bit away from it because Chiefs -8.5, as you talked about it more. Doug Peterson knows how to cover as an underdog. You said it. He's 6-1 against the spread. Those all came as underdogs, and I believe he's 6-1 straight up too as an underdog. So, heck, maybe not even Jaguars +8.5. Maybe it's Jaguars money line to win. But what I struggle with is Trevor Lawrence these last 2 weeks, and even if you go back to week 17 to now, he's 17th in the NFL in EPA plus CPOE. He hasn't been playing his best ball as of late. His air yards only 7.6, which is 20th in the NFL out of 29 QBs that qualify. So I do think Trevor Lawrence is a stud. He's a great quarterback. And maybe this you can get this Chiefs defense. 65% of the public is also on the Chiefs. So I'm not as confident as I was pre-taping of this on Chiefs -8.5 as I am right now as we're talking about it.
Yeah, and you said with the money coming in, we could see this line rise up a little bit. I mean, right now, let's face it, this is kind of at a dead number. You could play the 8.5 if you wanted to, and then if it gets up to like a 9.5 and a 10, you could reinvest. And we kind of saw like with how much extra points get missed, as we saw on Monday night.
Was there like 4 missed extra points that completely blew any over?
Yeah. But the Chiefs kicker, he has a history of missing extra points too. So, you know, that could be an issue too. You know, that could come in handy. But I don't know. There's just something about this Chiefs team that I'm just not trusting right now.
Yeah.
Have it be with their defense. Is Clark going to be able to get home? The issues they have in the secondary. And let's face it, they're basically relying on 3 rookies to be playing critical position, making plays in the playoffs. Everyone makes a big deal out of Purdy, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, rightfully so. But the Chiefs are relying on 3 of them on the defense that can make a simple mistake in their first playoff game that could cost them this game. Also, if you just look at historic trends, if you just fade the 1 seed, and I don't have the number in front of me, I apologize, but I heard this earlier. If you just play the money line, fading the 1 seed in the divisional round, you have a positive ROI the last 20 years. So if you just play the money line over time, you're sitting in the positive. You know, I'm fading the Chiefs here. I'm taking the Jaguars plus the 8.5. I'll bet Travis Etienne receiving props, anything, as long as it doesn't go over 20.5, I will bet that. And Juju Smith-Schuster is really, really interesting to me. Maybe throw a first touchdown prop on him.
Yeah.
But I will say this, if Hardman is active, he's going to play the slot. So then I would look for Hardman. I'd look for his props because I don't think his props will be bet as much as Smith-Schuster just because he's coming back from an injury. And maybe we can get a little value with him.
I dig it. I think you've convinced me a little bit to go Jaguars plus 8.5, but I'll sit on my hands a little bit, see where we go from there. But some fantastic insights. And I mean, can you fade Doug Peterson after you brought that up? I had completely forgotten that Doug Peterson is just the underdog GOAT, it seems like, in the playoffs. And this Jaguars team kind of has that Eagles feel almost, where everyone's counted them out and they got some studs.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. It kind of shows how bad it was there last year, you know, with what he's able to do. And also, let's face it, any quarterback that goes to celebrate at a Waffle House after a game, I mean, I'm liking you right away. I
Yeah,
mean, you go to the Waffle House. I love the Waffle House.
it's
Um, but I think the main thing is just going to be the run game. I think the run
mhm.
game is going to be a key too. Like, are the Chiefs going to be able to stop Etienne? Are they going to be able to slow down that running game? What are they going to get from their run game? I know their offensive line allowed the third least sacks, but it's something
Yeah,
just telling me that, Allen and Walker are good, just going to be able to get home. And if those guys are able to get home, get to Mahomes a little bit. And we saw in the playoffs, I still can't get over that last game in the AFC Championship game. It was just so un-Mahomes like. He threw that. There was that awful little time management thing toward the
mhm.
end of the half. He threw that INT, and that second half of football was the worst half of football we've ever seen him. That's my last image of Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, and I think the Jags can cover here. I call me crazy. I think this could be a competitive game because I think they're going to be able to run the ball and get to Mahomes.
I dig it. I dig it. Moving from that game, another touchdown. Well, more than a touchdown, but just barely. Eagles minus 7.5 at home against the Giants. Eagles coming off of that bye week. Jalen Hurts, we assume, might be healthy or fully healthy, was a full participant in practice. There's a lot of storylines with this one. And then if you look over in the New York Giants camp, it seems like they think they've won their Super Bowl and now they're in Super Bowl 2.0. Giants fans think they found the quarterback of the future. Are they? And I mean, and the last time these two teams played was at the end of the season. Eagles were kind of playing for something. They were still playing for the 1 seed. Giants trotted out good old fashioned Davis Webb and gave the Eagles a run for their money. Am I crazy for thinking this is another one that I'm leaning the dog at plus 7.5 because I just think in a divisional showdown they'll keep it close?
I like the Giants here. I like the Giants in at plus the 7. I locked them in again at plus the 7.5. There's all those trends I just repeated, but there's
Mm-hmm.
also two more I forgot to add. Road dogs in the playoffs are 58% ATS. Divisional dogs in the divisional round, what the Giants are, 83% ATS. And then you just look at Daniel Jones. One thing Daniel Jones has shown us throughout his career is he's 64% ATS as a dog, but he's 76% ATS as a road dog. You just look at his splits, he
Yeah.
covers more games on the road. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the New York nerves or whatever, but on the road, he legitimately covers games. And it was kind of funny. Like, I was looking at on my phone the other day, and you just look at what he's doing and kind of how it's similar to what Josh Allen is doing. Those two kind of have a same trajectory. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is Josh Allen,
Yeah.
but if you kind of just put the numbers side by side, there's some similarities there. Um, and I know the Giants are worst in DVOA defending the run, and the Eagles have one of the best rushing attacks in the whole league. But the thing I'm worried about the most is the Eagles' timing. No, don't get me twisted. I'm sitting on a very juicy Eagles 35-1 to win it all. Very, very juicy. But timing's real in the NFL. You look back, Hurts played, he was 20 of 35, no tutties, 1 INT last time these guys played, 9 rushes, 13 yards against the Giants backups. No
Yes.
Thibodeau, nobody starting of
No
magnitude.
Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah, no Dex, nobody was playing. And then you go back, last game before that was December 18th against the Bears. And let's face it, Bears don't have any world beaters on the defensive end. So this is the best defense he's played in some time. Like, how is he going to look timing wise?
Yeah.
On top of that, Maddox hurt, Lane Johnson hurt, Joseph hurt, Quinn hurt. All those guys on the Eagles who are very critical to what they do, Johnson, the offense, everyone else on the defensive side of the ball. What is going to happen with them? Like, how's their timing going to be? Are they 100%? There's a lot of issues here. I'm not saying the Giants could win this game, but what I really do think that they're live to cover this game. I think this is going to come down to that last second field goal just because I think there's going to be some mad timing issues. A.J. Brown has an insane matchup this week against the Giants secondary, but is Hurts going to have the timing with him to to finish it. We've seen
Yeah.
it in the past. I'm thinking right now that Ravens team. Remember that Ravens team? They played the Titans, and this team just completely just ran through everybody. Ran through everybody, got that bye after, and then play the Titans after the Titans beat the Patriots. And because they were resting toward the end of the season, they lost to the Titans. I just think the injuries are going to hurt them and hurt the timing. I think the Giants can cover the number here, but I think the Eagles win the close game.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect breakdown of this game. The Giants defense leaves a lot to be desired, right? They're 28th in EPA per play. They've been banged up, or I should say they're 28th in EPA per play over the last month of the season. They kind of came limping into it. Adoree Jackson might be back. He's probable to play. You got Landon Collins back there, but he hasn't been what he was a few years back. I think the Giants offense, though, has shocked some people at how efficient they've been as of late. And I think they can take advantage of this Eagles defense that has shown some flaws. They haven't been necessarily as buttoned up as you would hope the 1 seed in the NFC with a Super Bowl potential be. I think the Giants, also with Daboll, you brought it up, Daniel Jones, Josh Allen, when they met Daboll, all of a sudden their careers, I won't say be resurrected, because I don't think Josh Allen's career was necessarily in the stage where it needed to be resurrected, but Daboll has shot them in the arm with something, and he knows what they do well. He knows what this offense does well. And I think it's like when you're playing Madden and play action crossers is working every single play, right? And you just never leave that play. That's what Brian Daboll does. He's going to find what's working and spam that play 10 times in a row until you stop it. And the third time these teams have played each other, I think he knows what's going to work against this Eagles defense. Yeah, I'm not pulling the trigger on plus 250 Giants money line, but I think Giants plus 7.5, fantastic value. And I love the Giants here because I think they have what it takes to keep this one close. And I don't think the Eagles are going to be as buttoned up as we expect them to be, because Jalen Hurts, we don't know the severity of that injury.
Is that going to affect his running game? Is he going to, you know what I mean? Because the big thing with him is he would always just, run the ball. And it was great what he was able to do. But is he going to do that? Is he going to be afraid to be hit? I don't know. Real quick, fading the 1 seed. If you fade the 1 seed, in the divisional round, the last 13 and 26, but you have an ROI of 15.8%, and if you've been risking $100, you'd be up $616. So that's pretty good. You know what I mean? Just because you're playing these juicy ROIs.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Back to the thing, like, timing's real. You know what I mean? We see these guys sit out, and I think that's going to be a big thing. Giants, but the one worry is this, though, is the Giants just played the Vikings, and the Vikings defense is just so putrid.
That's what I was going to say. Are we buying high on the Giants? Like, that's what it kind of feels like at the same time. You know what I mean?
Gardner Johnson in the secondary, hurt. Mm-hmm. Maddox, hurt. Joseph, hurt. Quinn, hurt. This isn't peak Eagles defense. This is kind of like, so that's one part. But I will say this, they are how can I say this? They're the most underrated team right now. If you look at futures right now, the 49ers are the future. They have the smallest future price.
Yeah.
If everyone in the Eagles were healthy, maybe this number would be closer to a 9.5. Mm-hmm. So maybe there is a little value on the Eagles, but that'd be if they were all healthy. I just got to bet the Giants, though, just because of the health issues and the timing. If Hurts, don't get me wrong, if this was 7.5 and Hurts wasn't hurt and he had played a full season and they were going in, it would be a completely different story. But he didn't look good that last time we saw him on the football field.
Yeah.
So,
see, I'm going to say something and let me know if it makes sense. If this was Eagles minus 7.5 against any other NFC non-East team, I think I'm hammering the Eagles.
non-East team. So if this was against like
Say
who?
the Vikings. Say the Vikings beat the Giants, and this was Eagles Vikings.
I think I faded the Vikings every week this
But
year.
like, you know what I mean? Like the fact that this is their third matchup, the fact that the Giants played them extremely well last time, and the Giants know how to muck up a game where if it comes down to the end and the Giants defense can't stop the Eagles, the best way the Giants can play this game is muck it up, hold time of possession, and do all that. I have faith in the Giants to keep this one close.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think they're going to be able to keep this game close. And I'm looking forward to it because you know what? I like me a little Danny Dimes. I'm a Danny Dimes believer.
He's been fun.
I will
I
say
think
this
this.
though. I will say this. I absolutely love Richie James in that game. Everyone's
Richie
going to be
James
going to
resurgence. Where
yeah.
that
Everyone's going to be going to Hodge. Everyone's going to be going to Isaiah Hodgkins because of the game he had, and we all know how it is. After some guy has a big game, the next game doesn't look good. You look to the other guys. So I'm looking toward Richie James. I think he has a potential to pop. Maybe throw him in as a first touch. Those are always the only time I ever bet first touchdown is during the playoffs. And maybe throw a little bit on Richie James first touchdown. I think that would be I think that could hit, or maybe look at him in some DFS lineups.
Love it. And this game, well, actually, Dallas 49ers is the closest line, but Sunday's line's much closer than Saturday's lines. Bengals, Bills, there's a lot of things going into this game from emotions to just kind of a weird rivalry that has come up between these two teams because of what happened. But Bills, 5-point favorites at home. Bengals banged up on the offensive line. I think the Bills run away with this one. I think the Bills got played tough with the Dolphins, and I think we're kind of underselling just how good Buffalo is. And I think they kind of take it to a banged up Bengals offensive line, and Buffalo runs away with this one. I like Bills minus 5.5.
I like it too. I was lucky enough. Like my parents taught me the early bird gets the worm. So I was able to get a little 3.5. I was able to get a little 4.
Wow.
So I'm pretty. I like where I'm sitting at, and you kind of hit the nail on the head. This is offensive line. They're going to be without 2 starters on the right side and their tackle on the left side, and offensive line needs to be able to work on a rhythm. You're going to a very hostile environment in Buffalo, and there's all these signals and everything that goes on, and guys need to know where they have to be. And we saw that in the game. Burrow has struggled to move the ball against the Ravens because of the offensive line. And then that forced Pirine and Mixon to stay in and help block more. And then when Williams left, their offense was totally non-existent. And I don't think the Bills' front four is as good as the Ravens' front four. But when you're playing against these backups, I think they're going to be able to get home, and I think they're going to be able to disrupt Burrow. And when you have to keep Mixon or Pirine in, and you can't keep them honest with the run game, because if you look at it, ever since Von Miller got hurt, the Bills have struggled to stop the run. So if you can't block and you can't run the ball, you're putting more pressure on Burrow. And also, another key thing to remember is, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name because I'm going to absolutely butcher it, but the defensive back, Christian O something, he's hurt. Now you have Eli Apple and
The great Eli Apple.
the great Eli Apple and Tyler Britt back there. But Eli Apple got hurt toward the end of that game. And people seem to be forgetting that Eli Apple got a little hurt. So now you have a you could be playing potentially 2 backups now in the cornerback position with the Bills team that likes to throw the ball. Also, toward the end of that game, I was hyping. I'll be the first to admit. Like on my show, which you came on, when I started out, I did these huge preseason dives with people, and I do a fantasy football sleeper. And my fantasy football sleeper this year was James Cook, because he was a zone runner at Georgia. They hired the old offensive line coach who was the offensive line coach for the Rams when Gurley had his heyday. And I was like, oh my God, dude, this is James Cook backfield. And we started to see it toward the end of the season where Cook started to get a little bit more run.
Mm-hmm.
And toward the end in that fourth quarter, they started using him a little bit more. I think they're going to be able to run on the Bengals. And we've seen this, like when you look at Allen's splits, when he plays a team, I don't mean to be mean, like the Houston Texans. Like
You
what's
can be
another
mean.
one?
You can
A middle,
pile it on.
like a middle tier team, he doesn't run. He doesn't put himself at risk. But when you look
Yeah.
like when he plays the top 8 teams, that's when he looks to run the ball more. So now he's running the ball. You have Cook running more. That's going to open stuff up for the passing lanes when you have these potentially 2 backups playing on the DBs in the cornerback position. So I like the Bills here. Also, I did lock in Stephon Diggs. Now, this one's a little pricey, over 80.5. Since losing Awarzier, teams have been able to throw on the Bengals. Since he's gone down, the Bengals have allowed the 4th most passing yards during that time. He has a 28% target share, and he averages 9 targets per game. So I absolutely love Diggs here. I think Diggs is going to go off, and I think he's a little bit under the radar. Also, I have a golden rule. Anytime Dawson Knox is over plus 200 to score a touchdown, he's an auto bet.
I like it. Yeah. I think the Bills handle business for all the reasons you said. And I think the Bengals are really good. But I also think the Bengals are really banged up. And I think we're on the bill. I think we're underselling the Bills a lot right now. Buffalo's got it. And
How do you feel about the total, real quick?
I don't think. What was that?
That thing's been dropping a lot.
I'm still on the under there for the reason that I don't think the Bengals will score enough. Like, they won't hold up their end of the bargain. And that bit me in the butt when I was betting Georgia TCU in the national championship. I was sitting there, I was like, 63, TCU won't hold up their end of the bargain. Well, they didn't, but Georgia did it all themselves. But when I'm looking at this, again, I just don't see Buffalo being able to score 30 and have Buffalo, like, I think the under's still the play. It opened at 50.5, and it's just come tumbling down to 48.
One more thing I forgot to mention, Hyde's back too. When you get Hyde back in the secondary, which is going to help out, that's going to help out the Bills tremendously. So I like the Bills here, and that's another team. Like, you kind of look at the Super Bowl futures. I think the Bills are a little undervalued right now.
The Chiefs are first right now for Super Bowl favorite, right? That seems insane to me. I would put the 49ers and Bills both over them.
Yeah, and we have to remember, like, for as good as he's done, he's still a rookie. He's still a rook. And, we saw him a little bit. We're talking about Purdy, obviously. He was a little rattled in that first half. There's a couple plays, that one where it was like wandering, rolling out to his right, through the ball in the end zone. Like, he can go up, he can make some mistakes. We haven't really seen, like, can he make that drive when his team's down? There's a lot of questions about Purdy going out there right now.
And that's the perfect segue into this last game of the weekend. Cowboys 49ers. 49ers 3.5. This may be biased of me. I'm a Seahawks fan, as I don't know if you can tell, the Richard Sherman interception pictures behind my shoulder. I do everything. I was on with Gino last week, and I said, look, I try to be unbiased, but when it's the playoffs, my homerism comes out, and I blindly bet the Seahawks. Not a great financial strategy. With that being said, I follow the 49ers a little closer because they're in the NFC West. I think the 49ers dominate the Cowboys. I think this is like the Bills, how we're underselling them after a close win against the Dolphins. Am I insane for thinking that the Cowboys dominating the Buccaneers skews this a little bit? I think this line should be more around 6 in favor of 49ers. Maybe I'm completely overreacting, but I'd love to get your feelings on kind of this breakdown and what this line sits at currently.
This game was the hardest for me. What I actually did in this game, and I still like this number, I bet under 46.5. I still like under 45.5, with my thought process being this is the top 2 defenses per DVOA. This is going to be the best defense Purdy has played. I think Micah Parsons, that physical, aggressive pass rusher, is going to be able to get to him and make him uncomfortable. And on the flip side of that, 49ers can get to the quarterback, and we've seen that Dak doesn't like it when he has to get off his point and either move to the right, move to the left, and throw the ball. So I really like the under in this game. I would bet it down to about 45. If it dips anything lower than 45, that would be it. I got it at 46.5. When I look at this game, the big issue that the 49ers have is in the secondary, namely the slot corner, namely Mr. Ward, who's allowing an 81% catch rate in the slot. And that's predominantly where CeeDee Lamb is going to line up. Can the Cowboys offensive line protect the pass rush, Armstead, Bosa, et cetera, to give Dak time to get to Prescott? That's I don't know. Like, and that's the million. I can see it playing out both ways. But on the flip side, and like I've been betting against this 49ers team a lot. I have one guy, and I love the guy to death. You know, he always gives me mad props, but he's always like, dude, like, you always are betting against my Niners, man. You know, he used to be, you know, and like I'm right, because like, you know, last week I faded him in the first half and that hit. I could see them blowing them out. I could see the 49ers winning like a 31-7 game, or I could see like a close little 21-17 game. I don't know how Purdy's going to react to a pass rush. I don't know if the Cowboys offensive line is going to be able to protect, like I was saying, but the comment you made is kind of where I am. I thought the Bucs were going to win. I had bet the Bucs. I forgot to mention that before. Am I getting skewed with my view of the Cowboys now? Because let's face it, they had struggled on grass. You look at the Bucs defense, I think it was like 15 point some points that they allowed when Hicks and Vea played together, and those guys were a complete non-factor. So, but it's just one of those things. Am I trusting my value of what I saw in the Bucs, and as you know what I mean? Is that messing up with my value of the Cowboys? And another thing that stood out to me, you have Mike McCarthy, who's had this utter history of being totally unprepared in these games. Those guys look prepared as hell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they looked really on point. More, and I was listening to the game. One of the commentators made a great point. Moore looked so comfortable. Excuse me. Moore made Prescott so comfortable that he was able to do what he needed to do. Then you have the field goal kicking. If this comes down to a field goal, how is the Cowboys kicker's mental state? Is he going to be able to make that kick? There's a lot of questions going on.
So you brought up Brock Purdy. I just want to run this. This is his murderer's row of defenses he's played since he took over. He's only ever lost against the spread once in his career, and that was a 3-point win against the Raiders. But since he's taken over the reins, he started against the Buccaneers, which solid but not great. Seahawks, we know, one of the worst historically defenses over the last 4 years. The Washington Commanders, Raiders, Cardinals, Seahawks again. So he hasn't necessarily faced all that fantastic competition. This is his first real test against the Cowboys, and I think we're going to learn a lot from him. Currently, he's one of the top QBs in the NFL, in EPA plus CPOE, but is that a factor of who he's played? I think we're going to learn a lot about Brock Purdy against Dallas. And the Cowboys are just in such a weird spot. Dak Prescott coming off of a career worst game in the Commanders game to finish out the season, and then you come in and he plays one of his best games ever. He was the best quarterback in the wild card round. And it's just like we have two different extremes, right? And now we're heading into this game where the 49ers feel like they could dominate. According to the DRF Sports Power Line, it's our computers trying to figure out what they would make the line. It currently has the 49ers at -9. So it gives the edge to 49ers at -3.5. But I think there's just so many questions with this game that makes it tough. But I think the 49ers are more talented front to back. Cowboys also banged up. But 49ers don't like to test over the top. One thing I want to get your opinion on, How important do you think it is that Kyle Shanahan was the OC under Dan Quinn in Atlanta? And Kyle Shanahan knows all of Dan Quinn's secrets, and Dan Quinn probably knows all of Kyle Shanahan's secrets.
Another reason why to play the under, because they know what's going to be coming. They know what's going to, you know what I mean? They know each other's tendencies. So that's another reason why I think they play the under, because if the defense knows what the offense is going to do, they're already going to be prepared for it. I do kind of like, I've mentioned all those trends. There are certain trends I like. One of them was to fade Shanahan, just because he's been so awful as a favorite. This year as a favorite, he is an absolute insane 7-1. That is 87.5% ATS, which is absolutely unheard of when you really think about it. So I've kind of, that's what's kind of bitten me, because I've always kind of faded Shanahan as a favorite, but they've been covering lately. You kind of look at it, they do have a lot more weapons. You have Debo, you have McCaffrey, you have Mitchell, you have Ayuk. They have ton of weapons. But we saw in the Raiders game, Crosby. Yeah. He was able to get home and make Purdy a little uncomfortable there. And I don't think he's in the same ballpark in terms of a pass rusher as Micah Parsons is. Is Parsons going to be able to do that and get home? Because we need to remember that this team, when you look at their offensive line last year, the only person that is back is Trent Williams.
Yeah.
Trent Williams, they're not going to be moving Trent Williams all over the line just to line up in front of Parsons. If the Quinn is smart, he's just going to tell Parsons, dude, you just line up wherever Williams ain't.
Yeah.
And if they do that, that's going to force Kittle to stay back in and block. Then you're taking a weapon out of that. So that's going to be on the, the 49ers to establish that run. But yeah, there's just a lot of, you know what I mean? There's just a lot of questions. Interesting chess match that's going to be unfolding.
I'm so excited for that game. I'm going to have some popcorn.
That's going to be a fun game. That's going to be a real fun game. And then, how does the ending of last year's game play into that? Because you remember there was that funky thing with the field goal not going out of bounds and everything. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I feel like with the futures I have locked in, I'm sitting in a pretty good positions. I have futures on the Niners to come out of the NFC, and I'm sitting on the Eagles. So hopefully we can make some money. And in this game, maybe in some Noah Brown props.
Okay.
I think he lines up in the slot when CD doesn't. Maybe look to him. Maybe him be a first touchdown scorer, or possibly he got it last game. Dalton Schultz, maybe a Tony Pollard. I think this is more of a Pollard game than an Elliott game, just because Pollard has that speed where he's going to be able to get to the corner and get away from this elite defensive line of the 49ers. But if the Cowboys have any chance, they need to be able to protect Prescott so he can take the advantage and going up against Ward. Because we did see that, what was it? DK Metcalf just blew by him on that long touchdown. Was
cooking him all game, which was kind of surprising because Ward this season had DK's number, and then third time's the charm, I guess, and DK was just cooking him. So, I mean, I'd expect Ward to kind of get back to his good ways, but you brought it up. He 81% completion percentage against him, or something along those lines. Yeah. So I think Ward can get got. He's a good corner, but there's potential for the Cowboys to kind of pick on him. But in that same breath, you can go on the other side and say Deebo Samuel's going to have himself a day against Trayvon Diggs.
Oh, for sure. And that's the thing. Diggs has allowed the 10th most receiving yards, and the other corner is name I'm spacing on. I'm sorry, as allowed, I think, the third most. So they got some issues. But I mean, is Purdy's going to be able to take advantage of it? Because I love college football. I watched a lot of Iowa State football games. He wasn't this good at Iowa State. I have no idea what's happening. and maybe it just kind of shows like with proper coaching what happens. Ayuk, I think, is a little undervalued.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be a little bit under the radar. I think you can get some good props, maybe a touchdown, first touchdown with him. I think that would be an interesting one. But this should be a fun game. And like I said, if Parsons can get home and the line can block and give Prescott some time, that's what the Cowboys need.
Yeah. So before you get up on out of here, last but not least, we got to get your Super Bowl prediction. We're sitting here in the divisional round. I know a lot of game to be played. A lot of questions still have yet to be answered, but we need it. Who's your Super Bowl? Who are the two teams? And who is hoisting the Lombardi at the end of the game?
I'm gonna take Buffalo to beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I think, as crazy as it sounds, they're playing that game at Mercedes between Buffalo and I believe it's going to be Kansas City. I think Kansas City will end up winning that game in a close one. The Bills are built to be playing in an indoor stadium, so I think playing on that fast turf is going to really give them advantage against the holes in the Kansas City defense. And then they're going to go up to Philadelphia, and then they're going to play Philadelphia, and I just kind of think that they're going to be able to stop the run. And I think the Eagles secondary is going to struggle to stop Gabe Davis, Diggs, and company.
Love it. So thank you so much for coming on, Eric. At eToft21 Sports. Plug away whatever you want to plug. Where can people find you on Twitter, YouTube, when you're dropping your episodes, everything like that?
I have a podcast that comes out this Friday. Me and my boy David, we give our 4 best bets for the weekend. And my buddy Nick and we build you a DFS lineup. And then I have my stream that comes out every single Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern. This week, Scott Shapiro from Twin Spirals is going to be on it. Him and I will kind of look back at the divisional stuff, and then we'll tell you for the championships. And then who knows, like any other thing, like anything that happens in football right now, because it's kind of football centric, we'll talk on. We talked last week, Gino and I, our talking points was the whole FanDuel situation that happened. Ben Johnson staying, Lions building something. So just whatever's going on in football, and then, give our bets on the game. So it's a fun time.
Thank you so much for coming on. Mark your calendars and give Eric a follow. Fantastic stuff. And college basketball is right around the corner, and I imagine LSU will be a talking point for the rest of the season.
For me, it will be with how bad they are.